We are with you in the heart of India, the state of Maharashtra. The place is called Ajanta. We call it Ajanta, but in the local language it is Ajanta. And it's really, I would say, esoteric center of the earth that has miraculously preserved ancient temple, which began carving 200 years before the beginning of a new era. And the last monk left here in the 600th approximate year of our era. This place was a monastic university, if you want. And if you look behind me, you will see this half-arc along which this temple was built. This is a geofault. There is a river below that traces this geofault. And water itself already plays a huge role. But several very important factors have come together here. The biology of the earth and the material from which the wall is made, in which the unnecessary rock was then removed, thus creating cameras tuned to the human chakras. This is a volcanic rock, which, like a vest in the literal sense, alternates with quartz veins. And that's all in the aggregate, plus prayer, which, in my opinion, has never stopped being performed here. During the day, when the monks carved these rooms, removing unnecessary rock from the body of the rock, they sang mantras. As a result, this temple began to have an amazing effect. It removes unnecessary, sick energies from the human body. The effect, in addition, was accompanied by the transfer of information. Here, in this complex, there are mainly two types of premises. This is a meditation room, and a room where they lived, where they gathered and discussed some religious aspects. Although, speaking of Abhijant, the word religious does not quite fit. Because here, obviously, there is the deepest knowledge of the structure of the universe, mechanisms that humanity does not even suspect. And my greatest and deepest interest is precisely in finding this building, this knowledge, and transforming it into images and language understandable to a modern person, to return it so that each of you who sees this video will get acquainted with this amazing place and come here. Because it definitely gives a person a very important energy, spiritual energy. It stimulates a person's spiritual craving for knowledge. The same temple, as you probably have already felt and noticed, also performs healing functions. It extracts unnecessary energies from a person, and immediately these energies are transformed. There are no such temples in the world. Therefore, for my part, I am happy that I can tell you about this temple, introduce you to this temple, and open for you the world of this amazing religious trend, which we call Hindu Buddhism. But this branch of this knowledge, it came from the Pacific Ocean, from the very continent of Mu, which disappeared from the face of the earth 2,500 years before Atlantis. But the knowledge that was transmitted to a civilization of a very high level of development has been preserved. And the center where this knowledge exists in an energetic form to this day is this place of Ajanta. And those who understand and know how it works can come here and touch this source. Rain. This is a blessed time of year, especially for temple architecture. In India, in Cambodia, when the temple was built, at any time, in any millennia, they tried to build it closer to the water tank. But these temples are especially effective in the summer, when it rains, monsoon rains. Water, it allows you to transform energy into a range that is very well perceived by the human body. Therefore, when the temple was built, this factor was taken into account. And when a person comes to this place during the rainy season, the effect of the temple is the deepest.
I went specifically in the expedition. I forbade myself to expect anything.
I had some kind of simple call of the soul.
Into adventures. I went with specific goals.
It was internal. Intuition told me to go straight. You need to go there.
The thought that I have to get there, I definitely have to get there. There was an expectation of a miracle. I have never been to places of power. And when I heard about the place of the village, I decided for myself that I must definitely go. And I hoped that this position would allow me to feel more about Ajanta.
I thought that some miracles were happening here. And you know, I was not mistaken.
Absolutely. This place is connected in some way with many of us. I think in the world there is no such place.
Of course, this place requires knowledge and understanding of how to interact with these energies. Therefore, we decided to create a group, and generally create groups of people who will come here with us together. I will tell you how to interact energetically with this complex. He has certain conditions associated not only with the cycle, the annual energy cycle, but also with the biological cycle of each person. And taking into account these factors, you can get a huge benefit. In general, welcome.
It was very interesting, the influence of an unusual place of power on the human energy system. There is a slightly different interaction going on here, and the transformations are going very fast. Valery says that even if you don't feel anything, it still happens. I am a doctor, yes, a materialist. I still needed to feel and understand how it works. Moreover, I am a neurologist, and the effect on the nervous system. It was kind of interesting to me. I didn't even expect that I should be in Ajanta, in our Mari national dress. And I embodied this idea and came here in the Mari national dress. Well, first of all, I listened to Valery Uvarov a lot, and I admire the information I received. She was extremely important and interesting to me, and I am immensely glad and grateful for this opportunity, for what I see here. But it can't be compared to anything for me yet, because, of course, I've never been to such a place, and somehow I wanted to improve my physical condition with the help of these temples, even first of all, because I know that there is a strong flow This is a load on physics. This is a very interesting experience for me, as I have been visiting many trips, but for the first time. It is really a very warm space, cozy, and it feels like we just changed bodies, but we absolutely all know each other. And it was the continuation of some very interesting story.
Thanks to the information that Valery Mikhailovich provides us, it was very interesting to know this kind of place. The only thing I wanted to get, as from any place of power, is a charge of positive energies. That will help to unpack my development, my personality, in the right direction in the future. In other words, this is some kind of energizing.
First of all, I was struck by the fact that the temple complex, consisting of 28 rooms, had different effects on the body. The sensations in the body in each room were different. I've been recording everything that happens where, and I can say for sure that each cave, well, if I say figuratively, has its own soul, has its own information channel, which, if a person is tuned in, this camera shares.
On the first day of visiting me in these, of course, I don't like this word camera, but for some reason they are called to this complex by every camera room. Well, it was somehow good, but one might say, did not feel anything, so that I came for nothing.
Each chamber, it is really filled with its own energy. And you feel this energy even on the physical plane. In some chambers, one organ reacts, in some another organ.
The first day was probably the hardest. Apparently there was a cleansing for health. At first, I went into the first cell. In principle, everything was somehow smooth. Then I went into the second one. Somehow everything went smoothly. I think I should ask the universe where I should go then. And so I go into the fourth, and the guard immediately shows me this very thing to you there, and shows me a meditation room. And when I went into this room, I was just covered with such sensations on the physical plane and in the area of the fifth chakra. And I probably sat there for 20 minutes.
Familiarity with each camera. It was amazing. Everything is different in each cell. Somewhere the temple will prick, somewhere the kidney will move. I also had such gentle energies, so she twisted me in one direction slowly. When she stopped twisting, I moved to another camera. And so it is until the end. Well, it's just that some energy was coming. Yes, everything is unusual. The place itself, yes, that is, it's in the rock, it's in the ground, it's in the rock. And when you even approach this place, there is already some kind of feeling of warmth, love. On the first day, when I passed the first cameras, in principle, I had a feeling of such grace. There was a feeling that it was as if I had returned to something that I had been familiar with for a long time. I managed to feel, first of all, the difference between the sensations in the cameras. I was very afraid, bearing in mind the difficulties of the selection of the latest periods. I can determine where I should stay, but everything was more easy than I thought. And one camera, number 2, she just pushed me out. I felt bad there, scared, and I ran out of there. And the next one, the third one at number 4, I hadn't entered it yet, but I already realized that this was my camera. And as if by magic, the guard turned on the light in the side cell and invited me to enter there with a gesture. I went in, sat down, and it seemed to me that I spent 10 or 15 minutes there, although in fact it turned out later that it was an hour and a half. Indeed, there were incredible sensations in some cameras.
And these miracles have begun for me. When I recited the mantra in front of each camera every time, I was breathless, I couldn't breathe. I think, well, wow. Even now I'm saying, I have the same feeling.
I felt that my body, my consciousness, had shattered into molecules and then reassembled into a structure. but the structure was already different. In other words, I feel different already.
To experience different states on different days, observe these states, compare with something.
It's as if we have come here to pick up our parts that were once left here by us, our aspects. The information that has passed through all these chambers, through all these temples, is like a big book that has yet to be studied too. The group we have joined, the people who meet here, are like a big warm family.
Just the first question was, and for so many days, what are we going to do in the agent?
And when we sat down, Valery said that, "You will want to live." Some kind of transformation was beginning to take place. From the state of this benevolence, some kind of anxiety appeared. In the 24th cell, she made an impression on me. I had a feeling in terms of energy that I got into a crypt, and I suddenly had this kind of pain under my left shoulder blade, with a state of lack of air. That's all. I rushed out faster. And when I came to the 26th chamber, where the Buddha is lying, I walked around and I had a desire to stand near the headboard between two columns. At that moment, I felt very bad. I even thought that I would lose consciousness. Because, almost from the 5th to the 3rd chakra, something incredible happened to me, which I say is a darkening in my eyes. And at some point, I suddenly realized that if I don't pull myself together now and don't come out, I won't come out at all. That's how good it was for me there on the one hand. On the other hand, I felt incredible work, probably from the lowest chakra to the 5th. And then, when I went out to the common room, more work was going on from above. And so, indeed, on the first day, I probably got the strongest impression from the cameras, and the second day is a negative experience that can be useful to everyone else. Don't run around the cameras. Follow the instructions. And I was curious to feel the difference between the cameras. And I went, and I felt it. But somewhere in the chamber on the 10th, I just got tired and stopped differentiating this difference in energies. In other words, I felt the information that was embedded in this temple. And since we know that this temple was built for the training of priests, it is especially valuable. For me, at least, valuable information. Here is the accumulation of the amount of knowledge that has been collected for centuries.
Then there were a lot of impressions. Somewhere I felt very small, as if I was being squeezed into the ground. I was already walking around the waist. I became very small. Then I noticed such a thing, that my head was divided into exactly two parts. In one cell, my lower upper jaw began to reduce the left side. I think, what is it? I go to the other, it's the opposite, the right side. There were also bullet holes in the hands, and a knife under the shoulder blade. It all happened. But the most vivid impression was when I was waiting, as it were, well, let's say, a kind of queue to come up. Stand in front of the Buddha. And here in one cell, I don't remember which one now, there is also a Buddha figure there. And these are all the figures. I just stare stupidly. And suddenly I feel that I even have those elements that have already broken off. Here are some sculptures. So I'll call them, they all recovered, and at some point, they all came to life. I think to myself, pinch me.
I was impressed by the 20th camera, when there was an impact. This is in the area of the 5th chakra. Let's say, it feels like your head has been taken into a cauldron, squeezed so tightly. A discharge went through your body like an electric current, and a feeling that your head has separated from your body, that these are two components. Then the head began to increase in volume so much that it seemed to me that I filled not only the whole cave with my head, but also outside of this cave. Well, of course, all this has been restored, and the feeling of clarity has come to my head.
The next day, somehow, it was already going easier, and every time, the caves opened in some new way.
In the first cell, when I was standing in the center of the cell, I felt subtle. A subtle energy from below entered me. It was so light, it was so warm, and dissolved in the female organs. For me, it was very surprising and very pleasant. Basically, I was working with the right and left hemispheres, with the occipital part, and with the right side of the body.
Throughout all the days, I was accompanied by some kind of feeling of care, as if I was in the right place, surrounded by the right energies. In other words, I have not experienced anything so negative. I understood that I was ready for any form of cleansing. The cleaning took place in a light form, that is, I was given some, well, I hope higher powers, some signs to pay attention to. And I, in principle, was in the flow. Everything that happened, it happened to me exclusively for my benefit.
It was a feeling of a familiar space, a connection. From the first temple, there was some kind of attunement. And quite quickly, the process turned on at such a level that, well, I would call it as a transition to some kind of spatial state, where it was not exactly a temple, but something between temples. And the work began so very deep. All these days, there was a stay somewhere not quite physical space.
We are lucky everywhere. There is some kind of positive aura or force that moves us in front of us and helps us, and everything is solved. Therefore, I am very happy even myself.
Specifically, during the first 2 days in the last cell, where Kalachik is, specifically after visiting the last cell, my head ached. In other words, this is already a reaction, which is in this part, since there is a flow from above, just through the crown chakra. It was already interesting. Then, in some chambers, pressure was felt on the cervical vertebra, on the occipital part. It's funny that after the first day in the morning, I feel right here on the right, the next day on the left, then somewhere in the center. That is, every day there is something somewhere, something new. Then on the second day, I already started to feel energy going down my legs, down my arms, down my back, even into her. This work even continued in the evening. I felt a tremor of some kind in the lower chakra. Then some vibrations went down my back. It's like the water is bright, clean, and waist deep. Then she starts sinking and covered me with her head. But I'm fine. Then a stream of some kind of violet ray, and it began to pass along my spine like this, just like that, well. But it was all very nice, very well, comfortable. After a while, when it all calmed down, I came back. Then these feelings were no longer there. There was just an overwhelming feeling of gratitude. This is a fairly short period that my physical body has managed to work through. Because in ordinary practices it is believed that we can mentally change something, astral change, but the physical body usually slows down. It takes a long time. And here it happened in a short period of time. And now I just spent all the other days visiting the cells, getting real pleasure when my soul was filled with grace, with gratitude to the point of tears. And when I got into the cells and mantras sounded, there was a feeling that the soul was rising up, as if it was separating. And this is a wonderful feeling. Some just felt pain, a specific physical pain. Even sometimes in those places that were kind of healthy for me. But when you start monitoring, tracking this pain, you realize that this is also information. And you realize that it's all for a reason.
On the third day, I started using sound. The sound also resonated very much. In some cells, it's just like singing bowls.
I was surprised that the acoustics were set up there so that I punched it 2 tiers. That is, when I go to the opera, the voice is not the same, the voice is distorted. But this also struck me in these cameras, that the sound is amplified there. When I moved to the fourth chamber, also standing in the middle of the chamber, after a while my legs began to petrify. Then my hands. I was standing with the rods. I thought they were going to fall. No, that is, the brains understood everything, but the body was petrified. And then you start going through all these rooms here. The first one turned out to be so very loving, very warm, enveloping. The second one, they're all kind of, well, accepting. And so you go barefoot. You don't even want to put on shoes, because the sensations on the feet are like this. From hot to warm, there are immediately some pricks. In general, they don't look like anything.
How this will unfold in the future, I will watch. That is, it's too early to talk about the results, but I'll also note the next day, that is, it's already on the 4th. After I worked with the 5th chakra, the next mudra I woke up with was the 4th, that is, we went down. The heart chakra. Also on the diagnosis, it was said about the heart that you need to pay attention to it. I've already started looking for caves with this wise one. Quite an interesting experience. Higher forces are leading us all. All the people in the group are completely different. And after listening to the historian, I won't say transformation, it's still too early to talk about it. But what people are experiencing is really a place of strength.
Contact with the primordial female energy. Ajanta herself revealed a lot about this topic for me and the processes that took place. I just see the results. This is not my first experience. I know it goes on, higher and higher. And no matter how it is, not only in healing, there is a request. Because we are basically divine beings. We have a huge number of prospects that can be opened. We know this in a masterly way, because in principle there is a limit. There are no limits to perfection. And these temples are just such a good condition. And in the next cell, I was even more struck by the fact that when we are with Vasily, there is such a camera there. You go in and there's how. Like a bed with headrests. It is very comfortable to lie down. Some kind of black mass from behind. It's like this, like this, like this, like this, and as if it left me right here in the box, and then turned into, well, it went somewhere. And then there were cameras next. There were just feelings of joy. Caves are alive. And they affect a living organism with living energies and living information.
Those who don't believe in anything. I was that kind of person too. I believe in miracles now. It's worth a try. It's worth coming and feeling for yourself what it is.
What could be more interesting than exploring yourself, the space around you, especially when you are led by quite experienced guides, a feeling of some kind of greater concentration. And of course, I am infinitely grateful, because for me too, the world is an eternal mystery, and our personal approach of each person to this miracle. I like that in such extreme conditions, heat, high humidity every day, downhill, downhill, I advise those who want to go on this trip. Do 50 sit-ups every morning. It will be very useful. Here I came. I have a little heart. You know how it's squeezed or something. Well, Valery, when he scanned, he said that the heart muscle. And that's what? On the third day? Or what? When I went into the 26th cave, I felt like from here, from the middle, some kind of stream went in this direction like this, as if it had dropped all this. And after that, I somehow don't feel it. And I also had a kind of cramp under my shoulder blade. That's what it was like. I don't feel it now either, but I don't know when it passed. Thanks to these visits to one temple another, because health is really getting stronger up and down, only from this point of view in principle. Well, somehow this upper part of my body bothered me. It became more comfortable for me. I felt myself. And when I returned to the cell, stood in the same place, I felt that some yellow waves were entering me, very pleasant, very warm.
В меня входят какие-то желтые волны, очень приятные, очень теплые.
And then the yellow energy ball stopped right in the center, in the third chakra.
Прямо в центре, в третьей чакре.
It was indescribably pleasant.
Неописуемо приятно.
So I was filled up even now. I stood up, left the cell, but I felt very full.
Еще час постояла, вышла из камеры, но я себя почувствовала очень наполненной.
An incredible feeling of calm, kindness, harmony, love was an indescribable feeling inside me.
Гармонии, любви было неописуемо чувство внутри меня.
In other words, these light tingling, some kind of strange sensations, they occurred inside the body.
Организма происходили.
And on the fourth day, hooray,
Ура!
a miracle happened.
Чудо.
Valery spent practice with us in the 21st cell.
практику с нами.
Well, it's just an incredible feeling.
It was the most vivid impression. I thought it would be the brightest. But it turned out that this is not what it was today. After that practice, when Valery Mikhailovich conducted this practice with us in the 21st cell, and we returned when we were already going home. And you know, passing by each camera, I felt, as I tell you, the vibrations were. I felt each camera differently. I even told Valery Mikhailovich. I say, Valery Mikhailovich, I feel each camera separately. Well done, that's right.
So this is a new feeling for you.
This is a completely new feeling for me. It's completely new to me. So I am very happy with the trip.
And then, when the practice started and the mantra sounded, Valery says, now there will be a flow, but I felt this flow, even before he uttered these words. Then the feeling that you disappeared completely into space and flew out somewhere, as if into the universe. Dark blue, as if around, and you feel like an individual. And somewhere from the side, on the right side, you can see with your peripheral vision a pyramid, and you feel like you're on top of a mountain. Everything is so cool and cool. I'm turning into a cocoon. There is a lot of dense energy around. I absorbed this energy into myself. As I was filled with these energies, the universe seemed to be dissolving, leaving. The pyramid loomed more clearly. And when Valery Mikhailovich was practicing with us today in the 21st cell,
21 камере.
there were also feelings of fullness, as if I was filled with a cup.
Еще наполненности, как будто я чаша, наполнена.
And when we came out, I was just afraid to spill this energy that I had inside.
Энергию, которая в мне была внутри.
Today there was a practice that Valery organized for us in the 21st cell, in the 21st temple. Well, I immediately said, can I have more? Because there was such a flow. Well, it's indescribable. It just feels like this is really the harmonization of everything at all levels. Not only in physics, we have these many subtle bodies, it just feels like it's going there. And there, and there, and there, and there, and I want more, yes. And today it's generally such a stream. When Valerie opened it, I held my hands. And now it was as if she was walking in her hands, something was pulsating like this. I'm afraid to say that I've been to many places, but this is a place of incredible strength and incredible response. In two words, this is the disclosure of the scale of the concept of woman and female energy. How do you describe your condition before coming here and after? This harmony. And here is my request, to know as much of the world order as possible, so as not to disturb that harmony with your ignorance or some of your actions. And to know that gratitude, which in general, it seems to me, is conceived by the Creator. With what feeling are you leaving? Thanks a lot. Will you come back again? Well, that's as heaven wills. Of course, I would like to. Delicious. First of all, it's different. I'll tell you right away. A completely different state. It's just that I have a calm lake inside. Yes, I will definitely come, because I have been to many places, but I have not seen such a strong energy anywhere. And I also wanted to say that I was struck by the difference in energy in different chambers, and the fact that the strongest influence occurs in the doors, not only of the entrance to the large chamber itself, but also in the side rooms. And, of course, the vibration from your voice. How do you evaluate the energy indicators of yourself before and after?
Well, I'll say this, I came here without any discomfort or any illnesses or complaints. I'm evaluating myself. The fact that I am saturated with energy is 100%. In other words, we can say that I came here 80% of the charge, now 100%. Here. In the future, well, as I said, I hope this energy will only be unpacked for the best.
We hope so too. Save it for the next expeditions.
Thank you.
Comprehensive content, let's say like this. You are absolutely harmonious. And really, this place, it's very synchronizing. I'm leaving now with such feelings that here to describe this in words is difficult. It is necessary to come here and feel it. And the fact that I will come back here more than once, that's for sure and unequivocally. And of course, I will bring my friends, colleagues, my close people with whom I want to share. Because when you are filled with all these energies, you naturally want this good, like from a mantra, good and light, to share it all with others.
100% health, 100%, I feel much better, much better. Well, it's also like heaven and earth, and nothing hurts at all, and just like a feeling I want to jump, fly, run, a lot of energy. I really liked everything, and also wanted to tell future listeners that I was a little worried about India, after all. A third world country. Everyone is very hospitable, so open.
Come and be filled with what this amazing place shares.
Наполняйтесь тем, чем делится именно это удивительное место.
I thank you, Olya. I thank Valery Mikhailovich. I thank our entire team, which has gathered from 20 people for a century. Everyone is amazing in their own way. I am very grateful that I met such bright, kind people. Compared to the state before, and Ajanta has activated the health processes that were before. Yes, yes, I was looking for what I should do, who I am, how to realize myself to the end. Now I have a feeling that I feel that, yes, I am already on the threshold of this discovery of some kind for myself. And now I can honestly say that my life continues. First of all, thank you very much, and I wish you further development of this area because this is a scientific work that penetrates deeply into the essence of things. And it seems to me that for any practicing person who wants to know the world, his spiritual place in this world, well, who is engaged in spiritual practices, I believe that it is simply impossible not to visit this temple, because it is wonderful, it is incredible. Thank you for the organization. For everything in general, everything is at the highest level. Thank you very much. A new step in comprehension, in approximation maybe. Here's to feeling yourself and understanding yourself in the world. It's as if some wings have opened. Of course, I would dream of going with Valery Uvarov to other places of power. Such strong sensations and flows, and extracts, and that's it. With a sense of anticipation, what will happen next, how it will unfold further now, how it will open up the space around. So thank you. Incredible organization, they are dreams come true.
We accept it. What a trick we have. A tourist arrives, leaves as a relative. Therefore, you are like my relatives, thieves are like my brother, and I am very grateful to you. Also, thank you very much. You're all very nice.
Thank you.
This temple is a unique place, the only one of its kind in the world. There is no other such thing, where a person can not only feel himself, not only to some extent know himself, but also fall into the hands of all those generations of priests, as I said, who still exist there. They are present on the energy plane. And when a person comes there with a request, with a pure request, they meet him, and a multi-day work begins.
You, and now you want to. I want to live. Hooray, hooray. This is very important. This is a cool study.